to the Trump supporters for a minute. What is Donald Trump's campaign about? He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. And you know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell. If you can't admire Joe Biden as a person, then it's probably you got a problem. You need to do some self-evaluation, because what's not to like? He is as good a man as God ever created. He said some of the most incredibly heartfelt things that anybody could ever say to me. He's the nicest person I think I've ever met in politics.
Lindsey Graham, Air Force veteran, and he's made many trips to Afghanistan, countless. So is this what victory looks like?
Yeah, it is for the Taliban. They're celebrating. So here's the scary thing, guys. I think President Biden really believes this was successful. Joe Biden's a dangerous man when it comes to our national security and our economic well-being, and you really can't believe a word he's telling you. Let's just look at what he's telling us about our own national security. The war is over. Well, if the war is over, why we're still using drones to kill terrorists in Afghanistan? I can assure you the war between radical Islam and the United States and Afghanistan is not over. But here's what's so misleading about the Biden administration. They're trying to convince us that we can be protected from another 9/11 by using drones in Afghanistan. Well, let me just remind you about Iraq and Syria. Joe Biden pushed really hard to remove all of our troops from Iraq. He was told if you do that, ISIS could surge. Well, what happened? When we left our troops, guys, we started using drones. That did not stop the caliphate from forming. The drone program will not stop ISIS from growing in Afghanistan. It did not work in Iraq and Syria. We're very much exposed to a 9/11. And again, this is the same president who told you there was no al-Qaeda presence in Afghanistan about a week ago. He's the same guy that said all of our allies are cheering us on. He's the same guy that said the Taliban are waving Americans through. You can't believe anything he says, but I think in his mind, he believes he's been successful, and that scares the hell out of me.
To your point, you can't believe what he says. Senator Graham, the Wall Street Journal today writes, the president and his advisors have decided that the only way out of this debacle is to lie about it, blame everybody else, and claim that defeat is really a victory. Neither one is reassuring about Mr. Biden's character, his judgment, or more ominously, the long 3.5 years left in his presidency.
Well, that's true. They're trying to turn the page, and they're lying about the state of play in Afghanistan. Here's the state of play. The Taliban are in control, but it won't last that long. I'll make a prediction on your show. I think a year from now, the whole country is going to disintegrate into a real civil war. You've got Afghan resistance fighters in Panjshir Valley. Have you heard the president or anybody on his team mention for one moment, let's go help those guys who fought along our side?
They just repelled the
Taliban.
Taliban.
Allow women to live?
They just repelled the Taliban.
They repelled the Taliban, but Biden is negotiating with the Taliban. He's putting all his eggs in the Taliban basket. Well, the Taliban and al-Qaeda are one. That's how we got attacked on 9/11 20 years ago. ISIS considers the Taliban the Rotary Club, and you've got the resistance in Panjshir that's being completely ignored. The Taliban are destroying all the cell towers in Panjshir Valley, so the resistance can't communicate with the world. So I would urge the Biden administration to send satellite phones, start helping the resistance. And if they try to give one dime of aid to the Taliban, I will fight that as hard as I can in the United States Senate, because if you start paying terrorists like the Taliban to get Americans out of Afghanistan or get our allies out of Afghanistan who fought along our side, you're putting Americans at risk all over the world, because it will be open season on Americans throughout the world by terrorist organizations.
Senator, we've heard so many stories of our people, our allies, or Americans that are trapped over there and still trapped. There's one that was brought to our attention this morning. There is an interpreter there. He's going by the name Mohammed, and he tried to make it to the airport. They told him, you can get on, but your wife and your 4 children can't. So, of course, he didn't leave them. He actually helped Joe Biden 13 years ago in 2008 when he was a senator, and John Kerry was on this helicopter, and so was Chuck Hagel. They had to land their helicopter in the middle of a snowstorm, and this interpreter is sent in, and he helped so many Americans, Pete Hegseth told us earlier on the show. And he rescued the senators, and he's still there. And his message to Joe Biden is, hello, Mr. President, save me and my family. Don't forget me here. How are we going to get these folks out that need to be rescued?
I think we're going to try to bribe them out. I think we're putting on the table, the Biden administration, is economic aid to the Taliban. If you'll release the hostages, the Americans, and the allies who fought along our side, we'll...